Alright, how's it going, BoLS fans? I am here at the CoolMiniOrNot booth with game developer Michael Mr. Black, Shinal. We're going to play Wrath of Kings. Just going to do a quick little demo to kind of show you guys how it works. I'm going to be over here with Technus. Now this is probably my favorite faction in the game. It's about these crazy pig dudes. I just think they rock. So this was one of the factions I backed on the Kickstarter for Wrath. On the other side we have the how do you pronounce it? Nasir. So these guys are like weird kind of ninja monk dudes. They have these crazy masks with demons in them that make them really strong and fast. My guys also have weird powers. These guys were human once, but they received the infamous human worker demon injection, and so now they're demonically infused pig killing machines.
Union pacification.
Yeah. So, ferocious warriors, but they are loyal to a fault. Alright, so, why don't you go ahead and go first?
So for this game size right here, we're playing with a command value of 4, which basically means that my leader can activate 4 troops at any time. And that's what he's going to go ahead and do. He's going to command these 4 guys to take their activation. Now my guys have a movement of 7, which means they can move 7 inches forward, and they have a melee attack, so I've got to be in base to base to do that. So obviously I'm not going to be in contact, but I'm going to go ahead and move up right here.
And so that's one of the really important dynamics of Wrath of Kings. Now it's sort of a skirmish game with squad mechanics, but what makes it different from other games with squads is when you don't activate a squad per se, you activate, you can activate up to, as he was saying, the number of models within a leader's command area at a time, but you don't have to. So there's a lot to it. You know, when you do activate, you can activate the 4, or you can just do 1. So that's kind of how. Those are one of the many decisions you have to make when you play, is how many of my guys am I going to activate. I'm going to activate my 4 of my union workers, because it's just like he said, we have it's a small game, so the leadership value is 4. So I'll go ahead and charge with them. So they have a speed value of 5, so it looks like I'm going to be just out.
Intentionally set aside. Pre-measuring is fully allowed in this game, so
oh, okay. All right, so it doesn't. So I can choose to not do that. Now, this is one thing I can't remember from when I played before. When you do an activation, you have to say, I'm going to activate all 4, and then once you've chosen to do that, are you stuck with it? Yes. I said I'm doing 4, so now I've got to resolve all 4.
Yes.
Okay.
And also keep note that they have to take their action and their movement in the same order. They can do it either way. They can move and then take their action, or take their action and then move, but because they're in a combined activation, they have to do it in the same order.
Okay. So, well, I really didn't think that through, so now I've kind of put myself in trouble. So, like you said, there's pre-measuring. So let's pretend that I wasn't dumb, and that I did what I should have done, and
give you
checked.
A little tip here, Ben, as well.
We've got
just to note some of the other play styles that we have here. Nasir, my Ashmen specifically, they're duelists. They want to engage one-on-one, and if you let them do that, they're going to straight frankly kick your ass. Okay. So you're going to want to gang up on them with your union workers here. Gotcha.
Well, what I was thinking I might do instead for now is, because he has a movement value of 8, I was going to activate the Zalek. So that's this crazy little, this cool octopus thing. Now it's not just an octopus, it actually has a little guy underneath it. Now this one of the Adani, they're kind of the weird little race that's in charge of the Technus faction. So a lot of them have weird heightened mental powers, and that's kind of what this guy's deal is. This octopus carries him around, and yeah, go ahead.
That one there specifically is actually a state-purchased orphan that's being used as a fuel source for a mobile bomb. Because Technus is all about just, you know, you're basically work to us what you can do. And if you're an orphan, you don't really have a lot of skills here, but we can use you as a fuel source for a bomb, and we got plenty of orphans. So yeah, very cruel, very brutal faction. So I'm going to run him in, because like Michael was saying, it's basically a bomb. So I'm going to send my bomb over here to kind of get in the way of these 2 guys. Now, does he actually have an attack that he can do? He does have a tiny little sword.
Okay, so he's got a tiny little sword. So it's, now this is some finer points I'm having a little trouble remembering. So do I roll 2 dice?
Yes.
And what does the 00 mean?
That's the range. So 0-0 means base to base.
Okay, so that means I've got to be base to base. So with his speed of 8, that was plenty to get him in there. And I get to choose where do I want to assign these dice.
That's correct.
All right, well, I'm just going to go big. I'm going to put 1 on each guy. Now, this is the other thing that makes Wrath of Kings different from a lot of other minis games. So I'm going to roll the dice, and depending on the numbers I get, we're going to go down that column. So for this guy, you'll see that a 7, 8, or 9 will cause a point of damage, and a 10 will kill outright. Now these guys only have the 1 wound, so unless there's some kind of weird healing mechanic going on, which I don't think there is, just the 1 point of damage will kill them.
That's correct.
So I really want a 7, 8, 9, or 10. So can I get that? So that's a 1. So
that's the opposite of it.
That's not good.
It's actually doubly bad for you here, Ben, because these guys have parry.
Okay.
Now, usually, this is the defense chart. It's a 1 roll resolution for combat. It basically says everything you need to know is done by that 1 roll. In this case, you've got a parry, which on most units would just be a various form of a miss. But in the specific case of the Ashman here, they have counterattack parry, which says if you generate a parry result, I get to attack you back. But this is after your attack is resolved, so let's resolve it against the other guy and see what happens.
Okay, so that's bad news for the Zawat. So against the other guy, like I said again, I want a 7, 8, or 9, a 5, which is...
that's going to be a dodge. And
dodge.
Since I don't have anything that triggers off a dodge, and you don't have anything that triggers off a dodge, it's just basically a miss.
Yeah.
So your attack is resolved, it goes back to me, I get to make my counterattack here on it, which says it's just a 1-die attack. Now, an interesting thing to note here is basically we're looking at the resiliency of the Zalek. This is basically how tough your guys are. What this says is that's how many hits I've got to deal him with a single attack in order to actually deal him any damage. So if we look at his defense chart, a 6, 7, or 8 is a hit, but it's only 1 point of damage, which means I'm not going to crack through his resilience. A 9 or 10, though, is an over result, which causes 2 hits. 2 hits is going to be enough to equal his resilience. Every time I equal the resilience, it's going to deal him a wound. So I'm looking for a 9 or 10 here.
So the skull is an over, it's not just a straight up kill.
Yes, it's basically a 2 damage instead of 1.
So if something had 4 wounds, 3 wounds, the over is only going to do 2, it's not just going to kill it.
Correct.
Got it.
Bad news for me, though, on the Zalek, he has reaction unleashed on an over result. So if I get the result I need, he blows up and can potentially kill my guys.
Which is kind of why I put him there in the first place.
Well,
So
let's see what happens.
Good news, bad news situation. Bad news, I didn't hit. Good news, maybe I'll die and be blown up.
A 2, that's going to be a parry for him. So it's just a straight miss because he doesn't have any special abilities that trigger off of that. All right. So that's a nice little example there of how our 1 roll resolution, it still has a lot of depth to it because there's still a ton of things that can happen.
So now it'll be back to you, and you have a Thor, you've got 2 Ashmen left, and you have your Ashmen leader.
And these guys have already gone, so they can't go again. We basically go back and forth in the round, activating until everything is done. So in this case for me, I'm actually going to go ahead and just activate my 3 remaining Ashmen, including my Hakar. A leader, basically that activation thing, the combined order, that's a passive thing all leaders have. It's not a resource they use up or anything, it's just something you always passively do. And he can actually be one of the models he activates in there. The only stipulation is that all models have to share a keyword trait on their card. So as you see, the Ashman Hakar has the Ashman trait, so do my Ashmen. My Rathor here, for example, though, he has no trait because he's a specialist. Specialists just don't have traits. So I could not include him in one of the models I'm activating. So these 3 are going to go. They're going to move up their 7, and then they're going to take a special action, basically a sprint action, which is an action that everything has access to. It moves them an extra 4 inches, basically get in position. And that's what I'm doing. I'm just going to come up here and put some pressure on you. Yeah, you can probably attack me after that, but actually, you know what? He's come over here, because that combined order, he's got a 6-inch sphere of influence that he can actually activate that in. So I really want to keep these guys close to him if I want to make use of that effect.
So quick question. When you activate multiple guys like that, do they all have to do the same thing?
They all have to take their actions or their move in the same order, but when it comes time to do the actual action, they don't have to do the same thing. So if this guy made it into combat, he could attack while these 2 guys sprint over here.
All right, excellent. Okay, so back to me. So I'm going to try something a little bit different. Well, he's moved guys up. Now, something tells me that he knows better than to just put guys out here for me to kill. So I think that he's just trying to give us a better demo. Just get some more combat happening.
I just have faith in your dice rolling, man.
Well, yeah, and after last turn, I can't imagine why you wouldn't. So I'm going to take this bait, and I'm going to activate these 4 Union workers, because just like his Ashman, they're within my leader's 6-inch sphere of influence, so I can activate up to 4. So I'm also going to take his advice. He said it's best to gang up on these guys, so I'm going to go like this.
You see, I didn't count on you actually listening to me, so now this is going to be a problem.
And like this. So now I've got 2 Union workers on each of his Ashmen over here. So, are there any bonuses when I have multiple models engaging?
So now you can do what's called a combined attack. And basically that means that all the troops are pooling all their attacks together into one big hit. And that's really useful for a lot of little guys to crack through a resilient target that they usually couldn't damage on their own, or at least not by rolling overs or whatnot. So in this case, because you're ganging up on me, you're shutting down a lot of the bonuses my Ashmen get. Because usually if I'm fighting one-on-one, I get extra rerolls, I actually get an action if I die, and you're taking all that away because you're ganging up here. but you're also just giving you extra hit. On the Ashman, they're resilience 1, they're 1 wound, so really you're not getting a huge amount of bonuses by ganging up on them, but it helps.
I think I'm going to go for the extra rolls rather than go for the stronger gang up attack. So I'll just start with this guy on him. So
so Ben, there's actually no difference here in rolling them 2 against him or 1. That's not like changing anything. It actually is speeding things up.
Oh, okay. So what should he do? Yeah, what should I do?
You're gonna do a combined attack on him. You're gonna roll 2 dice.
Oh, okay. All right, so back against the swordsman.
Yeah.
So the combined attack. Oops, that's no good. So that's a 10. I like that. The 3, probably not so interesting. Is that another parry? That is a parry.
That is a parry, but, so if you had attacked separately, let's say you had rolled a 3 first, I would have gotten an attack against you, and then the next I would have killed him. But because you did a combined attack, you got an over and a 3. My counterattack says I only get to attack if I survive. So the fact that you pulled your attacks together basically means that that guy got blindsided from the side, and he got killed outright.
Okay.
So he didn't get a chance to counter.
It sounds like always ganging up is a good idea.
Usually. Sometimes, rare exceptions, it's not like the Zalek. I really want to hit him and kill him in the fewest hits possible to avoid trying to trigger the explosion. So he's not a target I want to throw multiple dice at. The Ashman? Oh yeah, all day long.
All right, so 2 attacks from the other guys on him. So we have a 5 and a 6, which isn't going to be enough. You're going to dodge both of my attacks.
2 dodge results, so nothing on him.
So he's being a nice, nimble dude. Okay, so I just have my guy left activated, but it's your turn. You have the Hathor.
My Rathor. And he is going to move up his 6 inches. And he actually has an 8-inch range attack, a 3D blast.
He has a cool little spell, yeah.
He also has an effect called Bounce, which basically says when I declare a target, it also hits another enemy within 3 inches of him. So I'm actually just going to hit him and then roll a die against him as well. So again, back to our set, it's a 1 rate attack. So let's roll and see what happens to this guy.
Okay.
Union workers are very easy to hit. They're not very tough. They're not very strong. The whole thing about Technics, though, is they're retaliatory. If you hurt them, they're going to hit you back 10 times as hard.
Right.
The Union workers are actually the only rank 1 infantry in the game that have 2 wounds. And they're really bad pretty much in every stat until they lose a wound. And then they go all berserk. So I'm really hoping to get a 10 on this guy to kill him. Because if I just wound him, it's not good for me. But, you know, we got to whittle him down eventually. So we'll roll. We got an 8. That's going to be a strike against him. 1 wound because he only has a resiliency 1. But he's got 2 HP. He's not dead. And now we'll continue our attack to the next guy. A 4. That's going to be just a miss on him. So nothing to that guy.
So now magic works a little bit differently from regular attacks, right? So some models have a magic defense.
Yes. So again, back to the defense chart. Some effects, like the Rathor here, he's got 3, 2, 1. Those are magic results. My attack is a magic attack. The base rules state that if I attack you and I roll a magic result when I'm using a magic attack, I suffer backlash. So it basically means I've got a chance to cause magical feedback on myself. That's going to deal me some extra damage.
Well, we've got other things like a block. Can he block a magic attack?
Yes. The rules for magic attacks state they can be parried, but they can be blocked. Because that's basically showing a type of way he's getting out of the way they attack or deflecting it via some magical means or some means like that.
So magic attacks would actually be a really good way to go after your Ashman, because then a 3, 2, or a 1 would actually be a hit because they can't parry the magic.
In most cases, yes, aside from the Ashman having
crazy ninja monks.
Deflection rule, which says they can parry ranged and magic attacks because they're just that badass.
They're just that good. All right, gotcha. But not everything can. So normally, attack things that parry with magic. All right, so your attack wounded my guy once. So all I have left is my leader. So what I've done now is I've kind of spread my guys out a bit. Oh no, I guess, yeah, you're right, I do have those 2. Okay, now what I'm going to try to do, I've moved him up. I'm going to try to move him up as well because he has a special role where he can assist from further away. And then I guess I'll just, this guy I'm going to just move and then I'm going to sprint him as his action. So I didn't actually get to gang up on this guy, so hopefully I won't roll a parry. So I'll attack him, and the assist, so the assist works, it basically gives me an extra die, right? He has bolster, yes. This model may make an assist action, a model 2 inches away. Assist
being a special action, basically gives a guy who's in contact, or in this case 2 inches away, an additional die.
So normally if you have a buddy touching another model's base, he can, instead of an attack as an action, choose to assist. So he's choosing to assist, and because he has that bolster ability, he gets to assist from 2 inches away. So that's what's happening now.
Now, Ben, one other thing in that as well. Your leader has an effect called pain
fuel, right?
Sorry, I actually just need to double check that. We'll redo that one. So Ben, your leader actually has the ability called Whip into Frenzy, which states that if he is activating with a guy who is pain fueled, which all the pigs are, he can choose to give them a damage at the start of his activation. So if you wanted, you could actually damage this pig, which is going to trigger his abilities and make him a lot just more frenzied than attacking.
I'm gonna leave him with both his health, and I'll just try. I'm gonna hope that the extra die from the assist is going to be enough.
All right.
We'll see if that goes badly for me. All right, so I got a 9 and a 5.
So the 9 is going to be a strike against my guy. The 5 is a dodge, but you are going to deal me a wound.
So these guys like get to attack me as they die or anything like that?
That's correct. We have the active certainty ability, which says if I am attacked and killed while dueling, so one-on-one, but I not get hit by an over, which you didn't do, I get to make one of my attacks before I die. So I get my attack. Now, because we are one-on-one, it is triggering all the cool stuff my Ashman can do, which basically is duelist. And basically it says that when I'm attacking a target one-on-one, I get to roll 2 dice and keep the result I want. So 2 chances to roll that 10 that I really need. Or I could roll 1 and 3, which are just both blocks.
Yep. So he brought that shield for a reason today. Gets to block and block again.
And my guy has fallen.
All
It's
right.
the end of the round here. Everything is activated. So now we would go to the next round, rolling initiative, and continue on from there.
But yeah, that's one turn. I think we got a really good idea for the mechanics of the game.
What are the win conditions?
The win, and the rulebook comes with objectives and scenarios. So you find scenarios, they're based, different factions kind of have slightly different scenarios. And what's kind of interesting, all the scenarios are kind of based off of the defining attributes of the factions. So remember, Techness is greed and treachery, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, so you pick greed and treachery scenarios for Techness, and then I think these guys are like honor and treachery, or?
Yeah, they are a combination of honor and treachery.
Yeah.
So
and then the Shailhan, who are like kind of the Asian-inspired faction, are a little nicer, and they have their
duty and honor.
Duty and honor. And then, sorry, I interrupted. You were going to say?
But basically, each of the motivations, so the way you win the game is you're trying to rout the enemy off the battlefield. Each army has a starting morale value based on the amount of models and the game size you're playing. Each of the motivations gives you extra conditions to cause morale loss in the enemy, in addition to just killing guys. So for example, I might have one where I'm trying to escort civilians across the battlefield. For each one I do, I cause morale loss to you. You might be taking a more offensive approach and saying, hey, if I kill all your leaders, I cause extra morale loss. So you can actually cater your victory conditions to your play style as well.
There you go. All right, so yeah, what I was saying was, I think this is, even though this is a short game, it kind of showed off the things that I like about Wrath of Kings, which is just like, you know, we have this chart. It's all very simple at first, right? You have a chart, you roll a die, you look at the chart to see how that is resolved. But then all these other cool abilities come into play. You got different guys doing different things, and you can see that even though these guys have sort of similar stats, you know, there's no stats like weapon skill value. There's not really like an attack strength, but it's still very interesting. There's still a lot of stuff going on to keep it from being oversimplified. And that was one of the things I found really intriguing about it. So is there anything else you wanted to say?
No, so let's see. So Wrath of Kings, this is the first Gen Con we've had it. We actually almost sold out of most of our stock that we have here. We have the full line here available. We've been running tournaments all. And the other thing that we have, sorry.
Here, and
one of the other things to talk about though is our tournaments that we're running. Gen Con here is one of our narrative tournament events. And basically that is a chance for the community to come here, play in the tournament, and actually shape the world. This event here this weekend was the Battle for the Empyrean Throne. And basically the faction that won that is going to get some choices to actually shape the narrative in their faction's favor, or, you know, if they really wanted to, against their faction. So the players actually have an active role in changing how the game and the story play out.
All right, very cool. So what kind of new stuff do you have on the horizon for Wrath?
So we released some new items at the CMON Expo we had this year, which is our own private convention. But we basically released some pictures of the new troop types for each army. Currently each army has 3 troop types, and we released a 4th one for each one, and we have a new book coming out in April of next year.
Oh, nice.
It's going to have full new content for every army and just a bunch of cool new stuff.
All right, cool. Well, thanks everybody for watching. I've got a lot of this stuff myself, which I'm trying to get painted up soon, but hey, who knows? So hopefully I'll take care of that soon, and we'll have some more Wrath of the King stuff for BoLS Souls. Thanks for watching.